Hello, entrepreneurs. Welcome to Joe DeChara Presents How to Win at Business, brought to you by my favorite sponsor in the world, Bedrock University. For, for entrepreneurs that want to learn and grow, I invite you all to attend our campus, try us out. It's free to register right now. And if you're interested in being a professor, in our university, please contact me. And I'm going to give you my contact info here, which is just simply go to timewithjoe.com. And I want to welcome everybody. Happy Sunday evening. I'm coming to you live from downtown Flushing. And I was, just to be transparent, I was watching my replay from last night, and I realized for some reason I'm like always moving around. I don't know if that's always, but so tonight, and I'm putting it out there because this is all like a practice run, and that's what I learned about life. Really, it's all practice. We just try to keep getting better. So I'm gonna try to do it like one of those CBS anchor men. And that was another thing. I keep saying and okay. So I know in Toastmasters they have people that rate that. So I might hire somebody to go back and critique my past performances. So I'm gonna try to stop moving. I'm gonna stop saying okay, and I'm gonna stop saying or whatever it is. And if you don't know me, my name is Joe DeChara. I am a serial entrepreneur with a CPA license. I've been doing accounting, CPA work for over 30 years. I've tried and started and failed in business plenty of times. There's a lot of pain and suffering. And that was another word I think I kept saying, Okay, so that's three things I got to keep track of. Okay, so starting from here, we're keeping track. And I am here to provide, hopefully, some relief from the pain and suffering, the inevitable pain and suffering that entrepreneurs go through, inevitably. And I'm going to go through this tonight. I'll keep repeating it. My friend Susan Shepard says, and not me, she said that for herself, keeps repeating the same things over and over again. And I pointed out to her the reason it maybe could be that because you're right. And it's the same solution for the same problem that different people bring up. Let's get into tonight's training, which is how to unlock the mystery of knowing your numbers. Now, if you want to be successful, and that's what this is all about, because in my 35 years of accounting and entrepreneurship, working in the trenches with thousands of business owners, it's come to my understanding that these fundamental principles are what most of them miss. And when I say miss, I'm saying because they're not winning at business. That's the name. That's what I'm presenting here, how you can win at business. And a lot of times they don't win. I don't want to say lose, but there's one of the odds. Okay, so that's one. So I want people to win. But if you don't win, which happens 96% of the time, maybe more for new business owners don't win, but that doesn't mean that they lose. They just have to play another inning, if you want to go with that. They just got to continue the game. Losing is quitting. So I've been covering these, what I thought were really dry, mundane topics that nobody wants to talk about, which are, it's the stuff, like I keep bringing up Haley Gray's cat. when she was videotaping the cat, and the cat wouldn't look at her. Because I know in the cat's mind, if the cat doesn't look at her, then Haley can't see it. And I cover topics that people don't want to bring up, because if they bring it up, then they see it. It's like, if we don't talk about it, if we don't cover it, then we don't have to deal with it. But inevitably, folks, if you're in business, you got to deal with the numbers. So one of the things I like to do now, and again, I just explained that these are strategies to help you win a business. This isn't helping me win. I mean, the idea is to the ripple. That's what my friend Elizabeth always talks about, the ripple, the positive energy that we put out there. And this is information that is really free to everyone, but there's so much information out there. I like to get it focused down to the information that matters to solopreneurs and mostly new business owners. Because if you look at the numbers and you realize that like 90% of businesses fail, well, if a business fails and then starts again, well, that's a new business, right? I must have had, and one day I got to do my post-it system and count from memory all the different businesses I had, starting 50 years ago when I had the casino in my driveway. When I was 10 years old, that was a business. I turned a profit. Luckily, it didn't get confiscated, but I was told to shut the casino down. But that was a business. And it was a failed business because I got shut down. If I asked for permission and didn't call it a casino, maybe it would have worked, now that I'm thinking about it, but that's 50 years ago. But let's get down to the training. And like I said, I tried to, if you know me, you know that, there was a long time where I really didn't want to be an accountant because it just wasn't fun anymore. But that's a whole nother story. But so what I started to do was look, because I put a lot of time and effort into these presentations because they're that important to me. So I've been looking for famous quotes that are relevant to the topic for the night, or what, if it's the day, if it's whatever time it is, it doesn't matter. But I want a good quote to take us into the presentation. And a lot of times it's like a quote that'll make you think. It's like, wow, I never looked at it that way, or that's pretty profound. So people love quotes. I love it. So I've introduced this. I'm sticking with it. It's my show. And if you don't like this part, you can, I guess, go take a popcorn break or something. But so this is what I came up with tonight, and this just blew my mind, really. So this is it. So the truth is, I looked for a long time. I spent, I don't want to say I spent days on it, but let's say, it was a significant amount of time. And I couldn't find one interesting quote on numbers. I mean, there were plenty of them, but, there just weren't any good ones. So I hope that that's not an indication of what tonight's presentation is going to be like. I hope that the rest of it goes better, but I came up with a 0 tonight, folks. And if you're watching, I would appreciate if you give me a, what do they call it? A hashtag live. And if you're watching the replay, which most people do, I understand that because, we're busy people, but give me a hashtag replay. And if you have any questions, you can, I caught myself. I almost did one of the words, so I'm still only, I think, one. But if you want to connect with me, I think I said this already. I'm going to turn this off because now it's getting me agitated, and I don't want to be agitated. It won't be good. Because life is difficult, folks. I remind myself this every day. Not that I'm oh my God, what? No, it's the opposite. I wake up with gratitude and acceptance because this was one of the quotes that did it for me. And maybe that's why people love quotes, because sometimes, a quote hits you and it just stays with you. And this came from The Road Less Traveled, Dr. M. Scott Peck. I got an issue with the initial as a first name, and I'm going to look into that some more. But what he says is life is hard, folks. Take it or leave it. You don't like it, tough. It's still going to be hard no matter what. So once you accept that fact, you can start maybe enjoying yourself. And I don't know about you, but I like enjoying myself as opposed to pain and suffering. So that's just me. But what we do as entrepreneurs is we take a complicated, difficult situation, we make it even tougher by going into business. And that's the truth, folks. When I ran my casino, it was, maybe one of the best little segments of my entire life. Like if I had to clip out like what was like a moment, and it was, getting that money from my friends and my friends giving me money and then thanking me when they left. And I said, this is easy. Well, it's not easy. I found out later. So, according to, and I started talking about the 96%, who knows what the real number is? But the Forbes, which has been around a while, claims that, this was an article, 5 reasons 8 out of 10 businesses fail. They're not being very specific. The SBA says after 5 years, 50% fail. Those numbers don't work either. Let's just agree, for argument's sake, that the chances when somebody starts a new business of that business succeeding are pretty slim. And if you want to say, well, it's 50-50, I don't want to argue with you. Okay. So what you're saying is if you have $10,000 to invest in a business and there's a 50% chance that you're going to lose that, why spend the time on the business? Why don't you just bet? Go to Atlantic City or Las Vegas and bet. If it's, you got a 50-50 chance. Look at how much time you would save. You don't have to do all the research. And if you win, if you keep winning, you'll become a professional gambler. And then that'll be your business. And then eventually you'll probably run out of money and you'll be starting a business anyway. But the fact is that there's way too much stuff to keep track of. And the odds are stacked against us, folks. But be happy because I have decided to make that kind of situation. I'm going to turn that situation for you. What I do is I make business simple, fun, and hopefully profitable. So if you're heading down that path of total confusion and stuff, I'm going to show you that because the PowerPoint, I think I out of sync here. But we're going to talk about some more pain and suffering, whether you like it or not, because that's the way business is, folks, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But my goal tonight, seriously, is to help you understand when people say know your numbers, what exactly does that mean? What numbers are we talking about? And why is it important? And let's let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Because what we don't know, what we don't understand, is what we usually fear. So if you, in the next 10 minutes, as I go through this, if you walk away just a little bit more knowledgeable about knowing your numbers, then I've done my job. And I invite you, if this resonates with you, if you think I know what I'm talking about, and even if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, if you want to debate this with me, now actually, don't go to Time with Joe if that's what you want to do. But I just said it. That's two us. Okay, and that's an okay. So that's three against me. If you want to connect with me, just go to Time with Joe. I think I said that already. Why is it important? Well, these are some of the things I thought of off the top of my head. It's important to know what your cash flow is. Unless you like getting to the 25th of the month and realizing that you don't have enough money to buy food for your family for the next 5 or 6 days. If that doesn't matter to you, then cash flow is not important. Budgeting, because you want to know, I don't know about you, but I want to know if I'm going to be broke in 3 months, or if I'm going to have enough money to buy a birthday present for my granddaughter, or if I'm going to have to borrow the money from her. That's what happened to me all the time. People would want to buy me presents and they didn't have any money, so they would wind up borrowing it from me. And that's another story. So anyway, budgeting. Tax planning, if you're making money, hopefully, which is the objective, don't you want to know what your taxes might be? Or even if you, and I just said, I caught myself, I think that's 4 or 5, but even if you're losing money, that could be an opportunity for future tax benefits. That's what I do. I could show people, look, even if you're not making money now, the money you're spending, and even a lot of money you're not spending, I could show you how to deduct. But that's if you connect with me. But taxes, because they are, I hope that you get to the highest tax bracket. That's my goal for you. And when you get there, you're going to be saying, why am I paying so much in taxes? But that's why knowing your numbers are important. Financing. If you want to expand your business, you go to a bank and he says, what's your profit margin? What's your turnover? What's your revenue? What was your he starts asking you your numbers. If you don't know them, don't buy lunch. You're not getting a loan. Forget about it. And maybe knowing your numbers is important in running your business. I don't know. I like to make decisions based on facts. And believe it or not, folks, I have had clients doing millions and millions of dollars in business that didn't know this stuff, that didn't know how much money they had in the bank, that didn't know when they were going to run out of cash because they didn't know their numbers. So just because you see a company that has a lot of business, a lot of trucks, a lot of employee, whatever, don't think that they are successful. Not by a long shot. The fact is that most business owners do not know their numbers, and that's why the rate of failure is so high. What knowing your numbers is not, because sometimes you get these wise guys that think that knowing every little detail of their business is important. And it is. It is very important, but unfortunately, our brains only have so much capacity. And we could get into a whole thing about, well, it's unlimited capacity. But the fact is that on an ongoing basis, you've got so many decisions to make. What happens is if you're paying attention to every single little detail, you can be successful to a point, to a point. And my experience is when those people get to that point, they get frustrated because the reason why they want to know everything is because they believe that that's going to make them successful. And I've seen it happen hundreds and hundreds of times. It happens with people, we like to call them control freaks. And you know who they are, you know who you are. And if you are, there's hope for you. If you want to be a control freak, and I have no problem with that, I will not take you as a client. You are limited. We can be friends. But as far as business goes, you are going to be limited. And I like to surround myself with clients, friends, people that don't believe in limits. So do not limit yourself by having to know every little detail. And I'm going to tell you what you do need to know. What knowing your numbers is, what it is having everything organized so that you know where it is. And you know when you're going to run out of it. And you know if you have too many of them. And if somebody tries to steal some of it, you know that it's gone. That's what knowing your numbers are. And if you're growing, if you're scaling, it becomes more important to have those systems and procedures that I talk about all the time. So it's really a matter of organization, folks. It's a matter, knowing your numbers is being well organized. And the way you do that is you design a well organized bookkeeping system. And they are not complicated. The simpler, the better. And these are the things that you need to know. You don't need to know what the breakout of last week's petty cash expenses were. And you don't have to worry about if you think somebody, didn't get the lunch special and they could have ordered something cheaper. That's the kind of things that control freaks ruminate about, they get stressed about, and it's not good. And let me just stop for a second. If you're watching, and I did mention, give me a hashtag replay or a hashtag live. If you want to comment here, if you have a question, I know most people are very busy on a Sunday night and they're not live, but that's fine. You can post a question here for me and I will answer it, because I do go back to see, who cares about me, because I ask everybody I know to come on these Facebook Lives. And I can't even get my daughter or my mother or my two sisters to come on. I just don't get it. Maybe they don't find this stuff interesting, but I'm tired of asking. So if you have a question, just let me know that I'm alive and people are watching this. What you need to know is you need to have, how much cash do we have? How much cash are we going to have? How much cash are we going to be short? How much people owe us cash? Because if we're going to be short, we better get on the phone and start calling these people, because I'm getting sick and tired of having to call my clients. So I'm not talking about any client in particular. All my clients are great. If you're one of my clients, I love you. Thank you for paying on time. But a lot of business owners don't have clients like I have. I have the best clients in the world. You got to know how much you owe. True story. I had a client in the body shop business, and one of the largest body shops on Long Island. Literally, he was doing millions of dollars in business, and his cash flow. I mean, he went from zero to hero in unbelievable time. And he was a friend of mine. Then he hired me as an accountant after he built a nice sized business. So I saw him go. And the funny thing is that anyway, he failed the subject that he wound up making a fortune. That's another story. So you don't need to have a Harvard education to make it. So he made it. I get a hold of his books and I start recording everything. And it turns out he had so much money because he wasn't paying his bills. He owed he owed suppliers for like 6 months, and they just gave him credit because of the amount of business they kept giving him. But when I looked at his balance sheet, he was in deep trouble, and he never recovered. He's out of business now. But when people are looking, he's buying houses, buildings, and it was like a Ponzi scheme. That's what it was like. And then I had another client, another large construction company. Guy was making a fortune, but he was broke. He didn't have cash flow. And the reason was their accounts receivable were all screwed up. They had a bookkeeping system that grew very quickly. They went from like 500,000 to 3 million in less than 2 years. And the guy ran out of money. He kept getting jobs. And when you get a job, you got to lay out money. And all his money was on the street, millions of dollars. And we finally cleared that up, and they're doing great. And I don't have him as a client anymore because that's another story. You need to know your year to date and comparable to last year. So what that means is how much business have we done so far this year, and how much did we do last year? This isn't rocket science. It's 2 columns, and then you add or subtract. So you say, hey, we're 100 grand ahead of last year. Well, we're 100 grand behind. Well, why? And then you want to know what the story of your business is. And that's what it is, folks. So I'm going to go back here for a second. It's the story of your spice cabinet. The spice cabinet has a history. It has a beginning. At one point, this cabinet was empty. There was nothing in it. Now look at it. Oh my God, my grandmother would have, this is like my grandmother's spice cabinet. Look at all that stuff. I think they got doubles up on top there. But I don't know what that is, but oh no, they're not the same. So whoever did this, they know their spices. These people know their spices. And you got to know your numbers the same way that these people know their spices. So, actually my grandmother, they had a much bigger spice cabinet. That was like that was like that was a good one. That was a good one. But both my grandmothers, I think they created their own spices. So now how do you get to know your numbers without knowing all of the details? Well, if you're smart, you're going to take me up on my offer that I'm going to provide at the end here, and you'll take me up on my offer for my unbelievable full service CFO package for startups. So really it's for startups and solopreneurs. But we'll get into that. But what would I do as a CFO? And this is the truth. What accounting controls are those little things that are supposed to be done by a bookkeeper. And the first thing we talk about is a bank rec. And I talk about this all the time. I talked about this yesterday. when I was talking about books and records. And just the act of doing a bank rec is a simple, required procedure that has to be done. Because just because you write a check or you record something doesn't mean that it happened. You got to verify it through a third party, which is what the IRS does, what everybody does, what auditors do, and small businesses have to do it as well. Now, we don't stop at the banks because we also have a lot of electronic transactions through credit cards, debit cards. We even have platforms like PayPal where people actually can use them as bank accounts, basically. I just had somebody pay me an affiliate fee. I almost said one of those words and I stopped myself, so this might be worth it. He paid me an affiliate fee. Thank you, Jonathan. That was awesome. I want more of them. So we'll have to talk again. But all of a sudden, I had money in my PayPal account. I'm usually sending money from my PayPal account. Now I had a balance. I went in there like right away and I transferred it to my account because they're not holding my money. Okay. Oh, that's another one of the words. Oh, not again. I have some work to do. Maybe I should join Toastmasters again. So we got to do the bank recs. You want to keep your business and your personal separate because if they're commingled, you really can't look at your financials, your business financials, and know how you're doing. And there's a way to do it that will separate them if I'm your CFO. And last but not least, you can't just have accounts receivable and accounts payable. My construction company that was out of cash but making millions of dollars, their accounts receivable it took us a year and a half to fix it. I mean, and that's because they had people that had invoices open for a year and a half and they didn't know it. True story. So let's get into what the numbers are because this is what it gets condensed down to. When you have a reliable, functional bookkeeping and accounting system, you want to produce a balance sheet. Now, when we talk about, and this is where it becomes painful, folks, as a business owner, and there's no way around this. If there was, I'd be doing something else. But at the very least, you're going to have to go through the pain of understanding this. And I would say I could probably teach this to a second grader. That's how complicated it is. So if you are able to learn at above a second grader's level, in the next 5 minutes, you might actually know what a balance sheet is. Now, we talk about pain and suffering, and I believe that suffering is optional. Pain is inevitable. Like when you're born, I mean, there's a lot of pain. Thank God I don't have to give birth again, or never, never. Yes. Sorry, ladies. There's the pain. There's the pain of putting the time in, the effort, having to learn something that we really don't want to learn. But suffering is when you don't know. So go through the pain, people. Go through it. Be successful, or you're going to suffer. I guarantee you. That's the truth. I'm not kidding. So the balance sheet really only has 3 parts. So how complicated could this be? This is like picking your legal entity. There's like 3 choices. And for some reason, 98% of the people pick the wrong one. But that's another story. The balance sheet, let's look at it this way. Assets. Assets are good. They're the things that you own, like cash, like accounts receivable. You got to know, like right now, how much cash do I have? How much accounts receivable? In case I get one of those letters and I got to bolt to another country. How much am I taking with me? Now, the liabilities, that you're not so worried about, because if you got a bolt, they're somebody else's problem. But right now, if you're here and you have a business and there's liabilities, uh, that's money you owe. You owe that money. That's not good. So you got the good and you got the not good. Now, sometimes there's good liabilities, because, like, if you borrow money to get a job and then you owe that money, but that gets a little bit more complicated. But let's just say that you want more assets than liabilities. That's the goal. With people that win wind up with more assets than liabilities. So, okay, now all we got to do is add them up, folks. And your bookkeeper and your accountant, your CFO, are adding those numbers up for you. You just got to ask them for it. Joe, can you email me a balance sheet? No problem. You get it in like 3 seconds. Well, what does it say? It's going to tell you what your accounts receivable are, what your cash is, anything else you own, minus what you owe. And the difference is what we call equity. Or if this was a personal financial statement, it's what your net worth is. So what we want is, we want that equity to go up enough so that we could pull it out of the business and pay ourselves. And that's how you win at business. And the way that you get more assets, folks, there's only one way to get more assets. You have to have sales. No sales, no business. All you have are liabilities, and you have what we call a negative equity. You don't want negative. Okay, so if you don't, and this is the end of it. I'm right on time here. Thank you. I'm getting better at these. So if you don't have sales, forget about the balance sheet. And if you follow me, if you don't have sales, you basically don't have a business. So I do what we call a business viability test. And that's why, again, why a lot of people don't win at business. You are not going to win if you do not have something that people will buy. Forget about if they need this. I have this skin lotion, and everybody has skin, so they have to buy. We went through that today. So just because somebody drinks water and you're selling water doesn't mean that they're going to buy it. So make sure you have sales. And if you have sales, then you have a chance of increasing your assets. That's the name of the game, folks. It's simple. That's how you win at business. Then you got to look at, okay, now I have sales. I wish it was that easy. Because then we would just stop. We got sales, but no, we have expenses too. And believe it or not, you're supposed to keep track of your expenses. I covered this yesterday. The IRS wants us to keep track of our expenses, because if we don't, they're going to come in and take all our money, and we don't want that to happen. So this is just good business. You got to have your accounting system. I don't care if you're I don't care if it's a side gig. You got to do this, even if it's just a practice for when you create the next McDonald's. How are you going to run McDonald's if you don't know how to look at a financial statement? Think about that. This is what kills me. People come in and they want to change the world, and you got to know how to read a financial statement, folks. And if you got anything out of this and you don't use it, Elizabeth, thank you for another great mastermind today. Thank you for following me and supporting me. And Elizabeth, if you don't take action on this, it's all going to be a waste of time. And if you want to contact me, Elizabeth, you know you can just go to, where's my thing here? If you want to contact me, Elizabeth, all you have to do is go to timewithjoe.com. I love how this works. And for my special offer, my CFO for startup special offer, this is what Elizabeth calls my signature offer. And I said, all right, again. So, but I think I was under 10. I don't know if that's a record, but I'm pretty happy with my progress. And so it's $47 a month. I don't even know how I'm able to do it at this price. I'm probably going to go out of business if I take on too many clients. So that's the dilemma here. I have the downside of this is if I get too many clients, but I know my numbers, so I'll know when to cut it off. So this is while supplies last, people. I can't take on too many clients. So take it while supplies last, and I'm not kidding about that. I've been getting new clients left and right. I might even like stop this in a couple of days. So if you're interested, seriously, connect with me. I love talking about entrepreneurs. I would do masterminds with my friend, mastermind with Sue, mastermind with Joe DeChara for free for the rest of my life. But unfortunately, I need to make money too, just like you. So connect with me if anything I've said, that's another one. That's like 9, I think. If what I've said resonates with you, and if it doesn't, if you know somebody that I might be able to help, let me know. And God bless you. Happy Sunday, and let's start the week off.